This is my house. Well, I don't live here. This is my first house. I bought this in like 2011. I bought it from a licensed and bonded contractor. And it was inspected, but at the time, I was in my 20s. I didn't know a whole lot. So I took it as it was, and I lived in it for a long time. Then my brother lived in it, a co-worker lived in it, and everything was okay until, well, this year. And then a storm took out a little bit of the roof, just enough that you didn't notice it at first, but enough to let it leak just about everywhere. And ultimately, after tearing all of this out, we realized there are a whole lot of framing issues, and the roof is probably junk. Now, the guy put it on there and said it was new, but I found out with all the sheetrock off, there were a lot of framing issues. Now, this is an old house. You got to give him some grace. You can see this wall got a lot of lean to it, which is fine. He sistered these together, but it was still a hack job. Now, I had cracks along these doorways on the drywall, and I assumed, it's just settling, or maybe he put his joints on the edge here where they shouldn't be. But with that off, it became evident what the problem was. Now, it's better now, but this wall was sagging about 1.5 inches in the middle. So I've got safety director, distance estimation expert Aaron Keener here from WBBS. We brought old Nathan Brammer over here the other day, and he said, "What's this ridge here?" And I was like, it's a heat duct. No, it's not a heat duct. That's a girder. A beam. I don't know if you can see it up there.
See if I got a line.
But that, you can see it there. So all of our floor joists for upstairs are running this way, and they're tied into this girder. Same thing for the floor joists over there. So the genius I bought this place from, who was a licensed and bonded contractor, decided we don't need this weight-bearing wall underneath the girder. We'll put this one another foot back and space it 2 feet on center, and that'll work great. So that girder corresponds with this wall up here. Now, when I lived here, and especially when my brother was here, we always had issues with the drywall cracking around the doors, and now we know why. I chalked it up to settling, but if you stand back, you can see the bow in this wall all the way across, and that's because the house is slowly sinking in the middle. But that's where I'm at. That's why I have no cool projects. That's why I haven't done anything fun. And it isn't just this. I've had about 1 billion other things. Other people's projects, my own things. The kids are busy in every sport known to man. Sadly, I just haven't had a ton of time to get down into my shop. I haven't done anything creative or cool or fun because my mind is utterly sapped with life. This isn't my job, obviously. There's not enough people watching this to matter that I can just stop and do cool projects all the time. So I decided, you know what? This isn't exactly fun or unique, but I'm going to show you guys what's going on with the idiot and his approach, why there's nothing cool going on. We're going to get some of the WBBS guys in here too, hopefully. Obviously, we're going to have Aaron, Mr. Keener. I had Brammer in here one day, but we didn't do any videos. We were just inspecting and planning. Restoration RX here in the area, they're doing a lot of they did the tear out, any remediations. They're going to do the roof, which is a big thing right now. We're going to put a drain downstairs, and then hopefully in the coming weeks get the sheetrock and new flooring and all that done. We'll see. It's been 3 months. That's another problem too. So let's get rolling and build this wall back out. I'm going to do the best I can with the lining. I don't have my mic with me, so let's do what we can. So what's the solution, Mr. Keener?
Well, we couldn't get our hands on enough tannerite, so we're going to rebuild this wall.
So we're going to jack this thing up. We're going to see how much we can get out of it. I don't know. We'll do the best we can. We're going to set up our Dovo laser here, get a top plate back up here I'm gonna tear off some of this drywall, and then we'll start jacking it up. We got that out. We'll set our laser up. We got an old rough 2x material just underneath the girder here, so we could use that as a top plate, but it's not really straight in any sense of the word. So we're gonna use our laser and throw up a 2x4, one top plate at the moment. And as we frame the wall up, we'll include the second one. So we're going to line our laser up roughly straight and use it as our guide to set the top plate. It's important to stare directly into this laser when you're using it. That's the safest option.
Well, to make sure it's all aligned.
Yeah, you want to make sure everything's lined up the way you want it.
Oh yeah.
You want to hold the board or you want to nail?
Hold.
You sure? Yeah, it's pretty fun. Down there. It's fine. Yep. Alright. We got our top plate up there. We got a 20-ton bottle jack. Cut a post there. And we're going to just see how much we can get back into this. And then hopefully throw the wall up in 8-foot sections over there. So let's crank on her and see what happens.
We're at 8 1/4 the bottom of the post, and you got
477 there. 76 there.
wait.
78 and about a quarter, 78 3/8 down here. So if we can get another 1.25 inches out of that, maybe.
It's going up awful easy.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, that's crazy. I mean,
You can hear the weight coming off of this wall here.
It's that load bearing 2-foot on center wall. Oh shit,
I got more.
You got another arm?
So that's almost an inch.
We'll go check the floor upstairs. See what it looks like. Alright, so we got that jacked up pretty good. The floor upstairs looks a lot better as far as level this way and that way. But we still got a decent sag a few feet down this way. So we're going to throw this other post in. Take the pressure off this jack. And then we're going to move down there.
Hammer feet.
Put the jack in there. See if we can't get that sag out down there. Okay, I think we got her.
Got that one?
Yep. We overjacked that one just a hair so we can get that under there. We're at 77 3/4 there. We're real close there. Tell you what, man, that doesn't look bad now that we come off there. Still up over here, but I'm really not worried too much about that. You can see that bow there, though.
Yeah, I can see it.
We'll jack that up a little bit.
I wonder if your concrete's not.
Well, that's another issue too, is we're measuring off this dog shit slab.
Right.
So we're probably not getting, that's not going to be our best estimation. We'll have to use the level to, let's crank her down.
Yeah.
Okay. Alright.
Good.
Bring her down. What else you could ask for? So we got this sag in here, a little bit here.
I mean, if you're happy, you want to check the floor upstairs
But
again.
it's all level.
If you're happy
So
with that,
we
then,
gotta-
I mean, if the sag's the sag, as long as we're level and.
And it would just make it a little bit tougher framing that out.
Yeah.
But ultimately, what we want to do is get this thing level. You know, the idea that we're going to have a perfectly straight and plumb framing, and this shit's probably 100 years old.
Right.
The goal needs to be to get this ceiling level. We got the weight off of this wall. I mean, it's just, you can feel it moving. And then upstairs in the kitchen, you want to make sure that from this direction we're level and it looks good up there. So we'll recheck that, and then we'll start framing this in piecemeal. We'll do a short section down there, we're up over here. Hell, we may even leave this post in there. So we'll be back with that. Now this isn't exactly ideal, but we're going to frame this up piecemeal. So just, you know, sections at a time, so we can use the jack, keep it in place. So we got a seal plate, bottom plate. It's treated because we're on this crappy old slab. And we're just going to mark out our studs here.
Working with what we got.
Yep. We're going to mark the studs out, and then we'll put this together on the floor and then raise it up into position. Hopefully it'll fit in there without too much fuss, but we'll see. Well, we got our pieces cut. One thing to make note of, this seal plate, like I said, is treated. That's really probably not the end of the story. Like, you need to have some foam, or hell, you could do some flashing or something underneath that. You got a really bad slab. I don't have any of that with me right now, but I've got a company that's actually going to cut a drain all the way around the perimeter of this wall and that wall over there. I mean, you'll get some seepage through the slab itself at some point, but it's not going to be that much. We're going to have the water remediation, but if you don't have that, you're putting this on concrete, you need to have something underneath this, a vapor barrier of some kind, ideally. Put her up against the post here. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Nail went buck wild up there.
You're dead.
How far off are we down there?
A little bit.
Oh shit. Oh, way off. How did that happen?
Yeah.
We're pretty good down here.
Yeah.
Maybe I just measured that board.
$74 3/4. That's what we said, right? 74.
measure.
77.
Let's move the wall out and measure that.
What's the 78? Yeah, 77.75. Yeah, that comes down right. That's 77.5 right there.
Okay. So we probably cut that one off shorter then.
Yeah, the second one out.
Think so?
Yeah.
Do it.
Half and not 3.
We got the wall in there piecemeal. It ain't perfect, but it lines up pretty good. And
better than the wall that was there.
hell of a lot better.
Which is nothing.
If you look at this, yeah, seal plate was rotted out. Studs are 2 feet on center, and it was completely short of our girder here, which is holding our joist going that direction and that direction. And you can tell upstairs is significantly better. Now this part of the basement, for whatever reason, the joists are running this direction. This wall, I'm assuming, is bearing that load, and it looks good, so we're not going to mess with it. All right, kids, we got this wall up, and I've got the ducting moved. Got our return moved over there. It's a little bit bigger. We're going to be able to put a bigger filter in there. I think it was too small to begin with. Got our wiring moved. I've had an issue getting this bottom plate secured. I went through 7 bits. I used the hammer drill, the impact. For whatever reason, I cannot sink enough Tapcons in this thing. I don't know if there's steel I'm hitting, if there's some crazy aggregate in there, but I ran 7 bits. 6 of them were brand new, and they were getting red hot on the end. So I wanted to show you this because it's not something that I use real often, or you see a lot of other people use very often. But we're going to use a powder actuated nailer on this. So what is a powder actuated nailer? Well, it's a gun for all intents and purposes. It's got your handle with your cup to protect your hand and a strike plate on the end there. So you're going to hit this thing with a hammer, but what it's going to do is drive this nail, which has this little sabot on it. It goes into the barrel. The sabot fits down in the barrel there. And when you hit this, there's a pin in there that actuates a literal 22 round. Well, it's a blank. Now these come in various colors, but they are in fact, looks like probably this is made by Winchester, a 22 caliber blank. So you have the round that goes in here, and then you close that up there. Our nail goes in the end, and we're going to strike that with a hammer. So these come in different colors. I'm using a yellow here, and this is basically your depth or power behind this, right? So we're using a yellow. You can get green. That's a 3 different ones. So let's try this out and we'll demonstrate it for you. Again, we're going to put our nail in the end, get our little sabot, our shoe stuck in there. Sorry, the lighting is terrible. That's what it looks like on the end. When it's spent, it blows the end out. Put another round in here. That doesn't seat flush. And you're going to push this down. Now it is a little springy. I don't know if you can see that action there, but you want to push down and get that spring tight, because when you hit this, you're going to have some recoil. You want to hold it down tight, whack it with a hammer. And now we got to move upstairs. Some more termite damage, old termite damage that, again, the dude I bought this off of, he just scabbed over the termite damage and threw up some drywall. So we're going to go fix that. over here, you can see that stud is just completely rotted out. And all along the top plates up here, a lot of termite damage. Again, he did sister some of the new studs in there. Sorry about the light. But they're about 2 feet on center. And those are an important end wall. So rather than leave that and allow it to sink over time, which it inevitably will, the options are try to cut those top plates out and replace them. Huge amount of work. There's all this old wood siding that's still nailed into these studs. It's going to be a massive pain. And that will require a temporary wall here to hold the weight while we cut that off. So you basically got to build a wall to fix this wall. And in the end, still not exactly be ideal because our stud spacing's off. Yeah, we could throw more in there. We'll just have to remove our shielded cable, or we'll just build a whole nother wall here. And we'll have to do it piecemeal because this thing is not remotely square and plumb, particularly around this window. But I think what I'm going to do is not the best choice, but it's probably the easiest choice because it's just the same amount of work as building a temp wall to put new top plates in there, new studs in there. Just build a whole nother wall, fasten it flush with this one as best we can, and then all we'll have to do is make some jamb extensions around the windows. Our wiring should have enough slack that we can pull those receptacles forward. So I'm going to build another wall in front of that wall there with a good solid double top plate, and we'll fasten it together, make everything as flush and plumb as possible, get our stud spacing right, and that will better support our end cap here, our ceiling joists up here, and it's going to probably save us a lot of heartache in the future. All right, our first order of business. I've got a line marked here. I'm going to cut up some of this flooring so our bottom plate isn't resting on this floating floor here. So we're going to tear this out. It's going to be a good time. Like Mr. Keener says, clean space is a safe space. I think it's bullshit. But he'll be watching this video if I don't get it right. If I get it wrong on the Marine's birthday, Sergeant Keener's gonna have my ass. 67 inches there. Not exactly plumb in that direction. So I think probably it isn't ideal, but what's going to make this a lot easier for a couple of different reasons is to do this in pieces. And I think first what I'm going to do is frame this window out, put a wall up in the middle, and then we'll fill in the sides for two reasons. One, this window's probably not remotely plumb or square. It'll make it easier to fit a smaller wall in there. Secondly, we are not level, per se, from one end of this wall to the other. So we're at 90, 99 and a half, 99 and 3/8 there. Down here, we are at 98 and 5/8. So we're off almost an inch from one end to the other. So that will allow me to make a shorter wall here, a longer wall, taller wall here, get the window framed in a little better. I think that's going to be the way to do it, even though it isn't necessarily ideal. Yeah, let's do that. I'm going to clean up some of the faces of these studs. There's some screws and old nails in there. We're going to build a 64-inch wall, and we'll throw that up. I think first, though, after I've gotten this cleaned up, I'm going to go ahead and put a top plate up. One top plate. So we'll go ahead and nail that in all the way across, and then we'll build a wall with a single top plate swing it up into position. All right, so let's lay out our joists here. So we got our top and bottom plate. They're both cut at 64 inches. We've got our crowns marked, so we know we want these spaces facing out. So we'll make this our bottom plate. This is our top plate. So what we're going to do is we're going to flip them like that. We're going to make sure our edges are lined up. We're going to make our marks for our studs here. So we got one at 1.5 inches. We got one at 16. We got one at 32. 48. And then we'll have another one down here, 1.5 inches from the end again. We're going to throw our square on our lines. Make sure that our plates are still lined up. Edges are flush. And we'll make our marks. And keep our edges flush. Put an X for where we want our studs at. So we're actually only going to have one little stringer or triple stud in there in the middle where our window frame is going to be. So we'll probably cut some more. Now it leaves us with a 32-inch space. And our window's about 30 inches. So what we're going to do is we'll cut a jack stud, like a short jack stud on either side as well, and then we'll frame that window out that way. All right, so we got these laid out and cut. Let's get this thing put together. Okay. Let's make sure this one's semi-square. Looks pretty good right there. Okay. Moment of truth. If history means anything, this is not going to fit. I'm going to have to disassemble the whole thing and do it all over again. But you'll get to watch. Better get this out of the way. All right, we got that sort of in position. So at this point, it's just a whole lot of beating and banging, adjusting this to the best of our ability, and somehow keeping it sort of square or sort of plumb. We'll see how that goes. Right up to our window frame there. It's about as good as we're going to get and still keep our window where we want it. because our window, that is nowhere near level, nowhere near plumb. So we got to take what we can get, kids. All right, it's as good as we're going to get. So we got to frame up each side. That one's going to be pretty straightforward. Not any windows or anything to frame around, so I'm going to spare you the details on that one. All right, that wall's done in there. I'm hoping you guys can hear me. I really should have brought my mic. Anyway, this is a closet for the second bedroom. And there was this angled frame here with some really crappy, just thin plywood on there. And it really served no purpose. There's already sheetrock on the ceiling up here. So we decided I'm going to tear that out, but I'm going to build a little built-in shelf space here, because this is a pretty small closet. We already kind of had this knee wall here that angled part was going over. So I left that in place. And then I've got two short studs here that are extending about 14.5 inches back. And that's going to give us, so from the steps to here, that's about 90.5 inches. So plenty of space to still traverse and walk through here. And it'll also give us several inches of space all the way up to the ceiling. I'll probably build some adjustable shelves in here. But we kind of come to this situation, like, how are we going to support this? Ultimately, these studs on either side are not lined up. So one's closer than the other. That's really not an ideal way to brace this up. Now, I've got several screws in here which will support some weight, but what we're going to do is we're going to set a top plate up here, a header, or whatever you want to call it, and then we'll secure that into our joist. We're going to drop two studs on either side here. So we got to make a mark so we know where to place this thing, and then we can draw some measurements. So we're going to try our best not to fall and die here, but you know what? Sometimes you got to make sacrifices. We're going to make our mark. We're going to do the same thing on this side. I'm hoping you guys can see all of this. It looks good there. This is really safe. I feel good about it. Oh yeah. Right on the mark, kids. So when we do this, we also got to keep in mind, give some consideration to the fact that they're going to have to hang drywall in here. So this design is also hopefully going to allow plenty of area to screw on either edge here for the sheetrock going in this direction, and then also leave enough going this direction that we've got support in the corners to screw into. So we got that up. Feels pretty solid. And then we're going to cut our studs that go from the top down to our little stringers down there. All right, we're going to try to hang these now without dying while balancing on this. Should be a good time. Should be a really good time. This is a good angle for me to work at. That's not bad. So we got this wall up, still a mess down here, but the wall's up, the ducting is moved, the wiring's moved. We got it secure with our with our powder nails. The flooring's up. So all the flooring's been pulled up. Still see where we got some leaks, so the roof's got to go, got to get taken care of. So we got our wall framed up back here. We got our little closet space, closet shelf set up over there. So the rest of the work, hopefully, from here on out is going to be on the contractor, the restoration company. So I'm hoping here very shortly we'll get a video for you guys to show you the after. You're seeing the before, we'll get the after, hopefully get everything very near where it was or better. We'll see how that goes. We'll bring you back then. Hopefully I got a few other things coming up soon. We'll see. Again, like I show you here, I'm very busy. Too much stuff going on. I do have a few little decent projects going on, but we'll see. Anyway, thanks for checking it out.